The fluorescent lights in the ICU buzzed like trapped insects above Aisha's head. Monitors beeped in uneven harmony. Heart rates, oxygen levels, blood pressure rhythms. An entire orchestra of life and death. She usually found comfort in that sound. It was a language she understood. Patterns, numbers, vitals. Facts. But tonight, the numbers on the screen in front of her did not make sense. The man in the bed, broad-shouldered, pale with blood loss, half his torso wrapped in clean white bandages and dried brown stains, should not have been alive. Yet his heart was holding steady. Barely. Aisha pushed her dark curls back under her scrub cap and narrowed her eyes, double-checking. Heart rate. Low but stable. Oxygen. Improving. Blood work. No longer in critical red zones. And then her gaze slid back to the paper in her hand. The lab report. She'd read it 3 times already. It still didn't match the story the hospital chart was trying to tell. Come on, she whispered under her breath. That's impossible. The chart said anemia. Stress. Minor infection. The lab report screamed something else, something rare, aggressive, and suspicious. Aisha knew chronic conditions. She knew emergencies. She knew what it looked like when a body was failing on its own. This did not look like that. Bed 12 status? A voice snapped from behind. Aisha flinched slightly, then straightened. Stable for now. Her tone was calm, professional, the way she'd trained herself to sound even when her stomach was flipping. Doctor on duty, Dr. Han, barely glanced at the patient through the glass. He was already turning away, muttering into his tablet. Good. Vaggy. Don't mess it up. I already had his personal physician breathing down my neck. Vaggy. Right. That explained the suits. Aisha's eyes flicked briefly to the shadowed corner of the ICU hall, where 2 men in black stood like statues, hands clasped in front, shoulder holsters partially visible beneath their tailored jackets. Their eyes tracked every movement. Security, they called them. They didn't move like regular security. His physician? Aisha asked casually. Dr. Lee, Dr. Han said shortly. You don't need to worry about him. Just follow instructions. No additional tests. No nonsense. This man comes with complications. He straightened his glasses, then stalked away. Complications? Right. Aisha looked back at the man in the bed. He lay like a fallen statue. Sharp jawline shadowed with stubble, lips slightly parted, breathing shallow but even. A faint bruise discolored the edge of his cheekbone. His black hair was damp with sweat. Even unconscious, there was something unnervingly controlled about him. Like his body refused to fully let go. His alias on the chart. Kong Min Soo. Fake. Aisha could feel it in her bones. She glanced again at the lab report in her hands. Hemoglobin irregular. Platelets strange. Certain markers dangerously skewed. Not like a simple wound. Not like simple blood loss. And then buried in the numbers the thing that chilled her. A pattern that pointed to a specific type of rare, aggressive genetic blood disorder. Accelerated by exposure to certain medications. Accelerated. As if someone had sped up the clock on his life. Her heart thudded slower and heavier. If she stayed quiet, he might die from natural complications. If she spoke up, she might be stepping on the toes of the wrong people. A faint groan cut through the beeping. Aisha jerked her gaze up. The man's eyelids fluttered. His fingers, wrapped in tape in 4 lines, twitched against the sheets. Then his eyes opened. They were dark. Too sharp for someone who'd just been dragged back from the edge. He didn't look confused. He didn't look weak. For a moment, he looked like a man waking from a dream he refused to remember. Their gazes locked. Aisha swallowed, her throat suddenly dry. You're safe, she said quietly. You're in the hospital. His eyes slid from her face to the monitors, then to the 4-line, then back to her. His voice when it came was low and rough. For how long? Aisha blinked. That wasn't what patients usually asked. They asked what happened if they were okay where their phone was. For as long as you need to be, she said, keeping her tone neutral. He gave a faint, humorless huff. That's never very long for people like me. The way he said it, quiet, almost resigned, sent a prickle down her spine. Before she could respond, the ICU doors hissed open. A man in an immaculate dark suit stepped in. His presence slicing through the air like a scalpel. Sleek hair, thin-framed glasses, expression smooth and unreadable. Aisha recognized him immediately from his ID badge and the whispered warnings in the staff room. Dr. Lee, Jaehoon's personal physician, though the name Jaehoon wasn't on any chart. Out, Dr. Lee said softly, his Korean accent crisp, his gaze on Aisha like a scanner. I'll handle him. Aisha lifted her chin. I'm assigned to this patient. You were assigned to keep his vitals from dropping, Dr. Lee replied. They're stable now. You've done your job. The man in the bed, the VIP, watched the exchange in silence, eyes flicking between them. Aisha forced a polite smile. I still need to okay his medication schedule, confirm upcoming tests and… No new tests, Dr. Lee cut in. His smile did not reach his eyes. Orders from above. Her fingers tightened slightly around the lab report in her hand. With respect, his blood work is under my purview. Dr. Lee's gaze dropped pointedly to the folder she held. You are a nurse, Ms. Aisha, she said, refusing to drop her eyes. Nurse Aisha Kamara. Aisha. He said her name like he was testing it. You've done enough for tonight. Go home. Rest. We will take it from here. Aisha felt the warning beneath the politeness. Behind Dr. Lee, the two men in black shifts leaned slightly forward, just a fraction. Just enough to remind her they were there. She glanced once more at the patient, at the Notman Sue, at the man who had opened his eyes like he was used to waking up in danger. His gaze still held hers. Something flickered there. Curiosity, calculation, or a silent question. Are you going to say anything? Aisha exhaled slowly. Of course, she said finally to Dr. Lee. I'll update my notes. She turned to leave, heart pounding. For most people this would be the end. Clock out, forget the strange numbers, forget the uneasy feeling in her stomach, go home to her tiny apartment and her sick sister and the stack of unpaid bills. Save her own life by minding her business. But Aisha Kamara had never been good at pretending not to see what she'd already seen. And tonight, what she saw was a man whose blood told one story, and whose doctor wanted that story buried. As the ICU doors hissed shut behind her, a single thought hit her like a whisper she couldn't unhear. If you walk away now, he dies. And maybe you get to live. If you stay, you have no idea what you're walking into. But what if this is the only chance to save both his life and Layla's? If you were Aisha right now, would you walk away or dig deeper? Tell us in the comments what you do and where you're watching from. It's amazing how far this story is traveling while her world is closing in. And stay. Because what she decides next will drag her into a world where saving a life comes with a price she never imagined. The bus ride home smelled like rain, old seats, and cheap fast food. Neon lights smeared across the windows as the city slid by, wet streets, closed storefronts, a couple arguing quietly under a flickering lamp. Aisha leaned her forehead against the cool glass for a moment, closing her eyes. It was almost midnight. Her shift had run long, emergency VIP, extra paperwork, tense conversations with higher-ups reminding her to cooperate with special protocols. Her feet ached. Her brain buzzed. But the only thing she could really feel was the weight of the lab report she tucked into her bag when no one was looking. She shouldn't have done it. She knew that. But the numbers had crawled under her skin and refused to leave. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, she counted the stops until home. For more. She pictured Layla. Her little sister's skinny frame curled on their worn couch, sketchbook on her knees, oxygen cannula curling around her cheeks like a delicate wire halo. Even when she was exhausted, Layla's eyes always lit up when Aisha came through the door. That thought put a little strength back in Aisha's spine. She shifted, straightened, and checked her phone. 2 missed calls. One from the hospital billing department. Great. One from Layla. Her chest tightened. She tapped Layla's name and listened to the voicemail. Aish. Layla's voice was soft, a little breathy. Don't freak out, okay? I just wanted to remind you that you promised not to forget the juice this time. The one with the stupid little cartoon lion you hate. I know it's expensive, but it makes the medicine taste less like death. A small laugh. Sorry. That was dramatic. Anyway, I'm fine. Just tired. Come home safe. Love you. Aisha swallowed the lump in her throat. She had forgotten the juice. Again. The bus dinged as it approached her stop. She pushed herself up, grabbed her bag and stepped out into the damp night. The air smelled like wet concrete and distant street food. Her building was 3 blocks away. A tired, peeling structure with an elevator that broke down every other week and stairs that creaked like they were complaining about every footstep. She took the stairs 2 at a time. Another notice was taped to the entrance. Something about rent due dates and final reminders. She didn't bother reading it. She already knew what it said. Inside the apartment, everything was dim except for the flicker of a small lamp in the living room. Aish! Layla called, voice muffled. It's me, Aisha replied, kicking off her shoes by the door. I come bearing disappointment and no lion juice. That's tragic, Layla said weakly, but she was smiling when Aisha walked in. She was propped up on the couch, blanket wrapped around her legs, sketchbook open on her lap. A nasal cannula fed oxygen gently into her nose, the long tube snaking back to the concentrator humming softly beside the TV. Her hair was wrapped in a colorful scarf, and there were shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there a year ago. But her smile, big and mischievous, was the same as when she was 10 and used to steal Aisha's lipstick. You look tired, Layla said immediately. You look like you lost a fight with gravity, Aisha shot back. That's rude. Layla tried to sit up a bit straighter, then winced. Okay, maybe accurate. Aisha's gaze flicked silently to the corner of the table where a small pile of medical bills sat, rubber-banded together. Some of them were stamped with red notices. She pushed the anxiety down. How was your shift? Layla asked. Save any lives? Save any handsome doctors? Accidentally adopt a baby? I feel like that's coming. You have that energy. Aisha snorted. I saved one very annoying VIP who came with his own personal storm cloud. Oh, a VIP. Layla's eyes lit up with curiosity. Like celebrity rich or politician rich? Worst kind, Aisha said, dropping her bag gently. Anonymous rich. I see, Layla said solemnly. The scariest subclass. Aisha hesitated, then added. His doctor gives me the creeps. Layla watched her carefully. Creeps how? Controlling. Too smooth. And he shut me down when I tried to talk about the labs. Is that normal? For hospital politics? Aisha shrugged. Maybe. For medicine. Her jaw tightened. No. Layla tilted her head. You saw something, didn't you? Aisha sat beside her on the couch, sinking into the sagging cushion. For a long moment she stared at the coffee table, at the medical bills, at the cheap remote with duct tape on the back. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out the folded lab report. I shouldn't have this, she said quietly. But there's something wrong. Not like accident wrong. Like he's been sick for a long time and nobody's treating what he really has. Or worse. Or worse. Layla echoed. Aisha tapped a marker on the report. There's a pattern here. It looks like a rare genetic blood disorder that's getting pushed over the edge by certain meds. Meds he's been getting from his own personal doctor for months, maybe years. Layla's eyes widened. You think his doctor is messing up on purpose? I think, Aisha said slowly, that if I don't figure this out, he's going to die. And it will be written off as the disease or bad luck or complications. And if you do figure it out? Aisha thought of the suits in the hallway. The way Dr. Lee's polite smile felt like a blade. The way the patient's eyes had pinned her like he was measuring her soul. Then I'm in the middle of something that could get me fired, she said. Or worse. Layla watched her for a long time. You're going to do it anyway, she said softly. I can tell. Aisha huffed. Do what? Whatever is right. Even if it's stupid. Layla smiled faintly. It's your superpower. And your flaw. Aisha reached out and gently flicked her sister's forehead. Wow. Rude analysis from a child. I'm 17, Layla protested. I'm practically an elder. You're a baby, Aisha said automatically. You're baby, Layla agreed, leaning her head on Aisha's shoulder. And you're my annoying hero nurse who doesn't know how to mind her business. They sat like that for a while, the hum of the oxygen concentrator filling the silence between them. Finally, Layla whispered. Did you ask about the program again? The question landed like a stone in Aisha's chest. The program. The new trial that might actually help Layla. The one with the price tag that made their current bills look like pocket change. I called today, Aisha said quietly. And they increased the deposit. Layla went very still. Again. Aisha nodded. How much now? Aisha hesitated, then forced herself to say it. Almost 3 years of my salary. Layla let out a soft breath. Wow. That's impressive. Her tone was light, but it trembled around the edges. I'll find a way, Aisha said, voice suddenly fierce. I swear, Layla. I'll work double shifts, triple shifts, Aish. Layla's voice was gentle. You're already working yourself into the ground, she said. You're barely home. You fall asleep on your feet. You forget my lion juice. She smiled weakly. I don't want your heart to give out before mine. Aisha closed her eyes briefly. Don't joke like that. I'm not joking. I'm just saying you can't fix everything. Watch me. Layla chuckled, coughed, then winced as the cough lingered too long. The sound scraped Aisha's nerves raw. Aisha's phone buzzed again. Hospital. Billing. She ignored it. The weight of the lab report on the table in front of her seemed to grow heavier. One dying VIP. One dying sister. One nurse caught in the middle, with nothing but her stubbornness and her knowledge. She could barely save one. But some part of her, some desperate, reckless part, whispered, what if saving him could save her too? Not in a fairy tale sense. Not in a romantic fantasy. In the harsh, ugly reality of money, power, and leverage. If this man was as important as he seemed, if his world was as dangerous as the suits in the hallway suggested, then knowing his secret might be the most valuable thing she'd ever discovered. And the most dangerous. If you're still listening right now, if your chest tightened when Layla coughed and your mind spun with Aisha's impossible choices, stay with us. Hit that like and subscribe button so this story reaches more hearts like yours. Because the next decision Aisha makes will tie her life to a man whose world can pay for everything she needs. And make her pay with everything she is. The second time Aisha saw him, he wasn't unconscious. He was furious. She'd been called back in early for a special consult. Her manager's eyes had been tight, her mouth a thin line. Be careful, she'd whispered. Be careful. That phrase was getting old. When Aisha entered the private room, the atmosphere hit her like a gust of cold wind. The blinds were drawn. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and expensive cologne. The 2 bodyguards from earlier stood near the door, watching everything like cameras with heartbeat. On the bed, propped up against pillows, was the man from the ICU. He looked stronger awake. More dangerous. A hospital gown hung loosely over his broad frame, but the temporary weakness couldn't hide the power in the way he held himself. His dark hair was pushed back from his face now, revealing a sharp hairline and a scar cutting faintly through his right eyebrow. His eyes, deep, steady, unervingly observant, were fixed on the man standing at the foot of his bed. Dr. Lee. Just a minor setback, Dr. Lee was saying smoothly. Nothing to be concerned about. Nothing to be concerned about? The man echoed quietly. I woke up with my body feeling like it had been set on fire and put out with glass. It's the stress on your system from the injuries and the travel, Dr. Lee said. Your condition is complicated. You know this. Aisha stood at the doorway, unseen for a moment, listening. Condition? He did have a chronic condition. Her instincts had been right. You told me the treatment was under control, the man said, his voice soft but laced with steel. It is, Dr. Lee replied. We always expected fluctuations. The man's eyes narrowed. Fluctuations? Yes. And the new nurse? He added almost idly. Is she one of the fluctuations? Aisha's heart skipped. He knew she was there. Come in, Nurse Aisha, Dr. Lee said without looking at her. The boss wants to meet his savior. Boss. The word echoed in her head. The bodyguards. The secrecy. The alias. Not just a VIP. Aisha stepped in, shoulders squared. Good morning, she said, her voice steady. The man's gaze slid to her and stayed. For a moment nobody spoke. Leave us, he said finally, without looking away from Aisha. Dr. Lee frowned. Sir, outside. The man repeated, sharper. The guards glanced at each other, then followed Dr. Lee out, the door closing with a soft but final click. Silence settled in the room like dust. Aisha's pulse thrummed in her ears. Up close, his presence was even more intense. There was something about the way he watched her, like he was looking through layers, stripping away masks. "You took my blood results," he said quietly. Not a question. Aisha's throat tightened. I needed to understand what I was looking at. His lips curved, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Brave. Necessary," she corrected. He tilted his head slightly. "And what did you see, Nurse Kamara?" She hesitated. This was it. The edge she'd been balancing on ever since she slipped that report into her bag. She could lie. Say nothing. Pretend she'd misunderstood. But then she pictured Layla. And the way this man had flinched when he woke up, like pain was already an old, unwelcome friend. "You're not just recovering from a wound," she said finally. "You have an underlying blood disorder. Rare. Aggressive. Genetic. And from the markers I saw, you've been given medications that make it worse." For the first time, something flickered openly in his eyes. Surprise. Swift then gone. "Careful," he murmured. "Those are serious words." "They're serious facts," Aisha replied. He studied her in silence for a few seconds that felt much longer. "What's your name?" he asked. "Aisha." "Full. Aisha Kamara." "Not that." His gaze sharpened. "What do your people call you when they're worried about you?" The question caught her off guard. "Aish. Aish," he repeated softly, tasting the syllable. "Good. So I don't have to say nurse every time I speak to you." He leaned back slightly, winced, then caught himself before the pain could fully show. "My name is not Kongmin Soo," he said. "I'm sure you've already figured that out." "I guessed," Aisha said dryly. He gave a brief, genuine chuckle. "I'm Jaehoon," he said. "In this city, in certain circles, some people add a title to that." "What kind of title?" she asked, though part of her already knew. The corner of his mouth twitched. "Boss. Chairman. Dragon." The word hung between them. Dragon. Aisha thought of the whispers at the hospital. The news she didn't have time to watch. The rumors of a syndicate that ran parts of the city from the shadows. "The Black Dragon," she said slowly. His eyes flashed in acknowledgement. "So you do listen," he said. "That will make this easier." "Make what easier?" He met her gaze head-on. "Choosing," he said, "between walking away and saving my life." Her heartbeat stumbled. "I already chose," she said. "I saved it." He shook his head. "You pulled me back from one edge. I'm still standing on another." His gaze hardened. "You saw something in those tests that you weren't supposed to see," he continued. "And my doctor, who has been in charge of my treatment for years, told you not to look." Aisha remained silent. "You did it anyway," he said. "That means you either have a death wish or a strong sense of duty." "Or both," she muttered. He smiled faintly. "Maybe both." He let the silence stretch, then added, "Tell me exactly what you saw." She did. She told him about the specific markers, the pattern consistent with a rare genetic blood disorder. She told him about the way his medication seemed to be accelerating the damage instead of slowing it. She told him about the subtle signs she'd noticed that matched long-term mistreatment. As she spoke, the mask on his face cracked further and further. Rage. Fear. Not the fear of a man used to guns and enemies. The fear of someone who realized a betrayal had been eating him from the inside out. "And you're sure?" he asked quietly when she finished. "As sure as I can be without ordering more tests," she said. "Which I'm not allowed to do." "Who said that?" "Your doctor," she replied. "Dr. Lee." He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, they were darker. Harder. "How long have I been seeing him?" he asked. "You'd have to tell me that," she said. "Years," he answered. "Since my father died." His jaw clenched. "I trusted him." The words landed heavy in the air. Trust. Poison. Rare disease. Mafia boss. This was no longer just a medical problem. It was a loaded gun of a secret pointed at both of them. "If this is true," he said slowly, "he's either incompetent or deliberately hurting you," Aisha finished softly. He held her gaze. "Which do you think it is?" She swallowed. "I think nobody is that incompetent for that long without being caught." He exhaled, a sound that was almost a laugh and almost a curse. I knew something was wrong, he murmured. I could feel it. Not just the sickness. The way he talked. The way he always had an excuse. I thought, maybe it was just my paranoia. My father used to say, once you've been betrayed from inside your own house, you start to suspect the walls. His voice went distant for a moment. Then he snapped back. You were not supposed to find this, he said to Aisha. You were supposed to follow orders, clock out, go home, be tired, forget. I'm very bad at forgetting, she said. Good, he replied immediately. That's why you're here. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? He regarded her for a long, considering moment. Then he said, I want you to take over my treatment. Aisha stared at him. I'm a nurse. A very good one, he said. One who caught what a doctor missed, and maybe hid for years. I have other specialists you can consult. Money is not my problem. Trust is. She shook her head. You need a hematologist, a geneticist, a full team. I need someone in my corner who isn't on his payroll, Jaehoon cut in. Someone who won't be bought, won't be intimidated, and won't look away when she sees something ugly. His eyes bored into hers. You, he said. The word felt like a weight landing in her lap. You want me to leave the hospital and become your private nurse? Aisha asked slowly. Yes. Work for you? Yes. For how long? Until we beat this, he said simply. Or until we die trying. The bluntness of it took her breath for a moment. I can't just disappear, she said. I have responsibilities. My sister. Layla, he said. Her heart stuttered. How do you? You weren't the only one gathering information, he replied. My people looked into you the moment you touched my chart. Fear flared in her stomach. You're 27, he continued calmly. You've been working double shifts for the last 6 months. No criminal record. No vices except coffee and late-night ramen. You live with your 17-year-old sister, who has a chronic illness that is slowly killing her. Your parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. You paid for the funeral by selling your mother's jewelry and taking a loan you're still repaying. His gaze softened slightly. You're drowning in medical bills, he said. And yet, when my doctor told you to look away from the truth, you didn't. You risked angering powerful people for a stranger. He leaned forward, ignoring the twinge of pain. You don't scare easy, Aish, he said quietly. People like you are rare. People like you are why people like me sometimes get a second chance. Aisha felt like the room was closing in on her. You think flattery is going to make this less insane? She asked. He smiled faintly. No. I think money will. There it was. Money won't make this less dangerous, she said. True, he said. But it might make it more worthwhile. He reached over to the bedside table, opened a drawer and pulled out a black envelope. He tossed it lightly onto the blanket between them. Aisha didn't move. What's that? Consider it a signing bonus, he said. Open it. She hesitated, then picked it up. The paper felt heavy, expensive. She slid a finger under the flap and pulled out a thick stack of bank slips. Her eyes widened. She'd never seen that many zeros attached to her name. That's just the beginning, Jaehoon said quietly. If you agree to work for me exclusively, set up a proper treatment plan, bring in specialists you trust, monitor my condition personally, and report only to me, I'll pay for your sister's entire treatment. The trial. The medications. Everything. The floor seemed to tilt under Aisha's feet. Why? She whispered. Because I believe you can save my life, he said. And because I know what it feels like to watch someone you love die slowly while you can't do anything. I lived that with my father. A shadow crossed his face. I am not ready to die like him, he said. Weak. Confused. Uncertain whether the people around him were helping him or killing him. I will not go out like that. If there is even a chance that you're right. I need you. The word hung between them. Need. Aisha stared at the envelope. At the numbers that could wipe away years of fear. At the face of the man whose world was built on power, violence, and secrets. You're asking me to step into your world, she said slowly. To leave everything I know. To help you. Continue whatever you do out there. I'm asking you to help me live, he said. What I do with that life is my decision, not yours. And if I say no? She asked. His gaze didn't waver. Then you walk out of here, he said. I let you. I pay your hospital salary for a year to keep them quiet, and you go back to your sister, your bills, your exhaustion, and your slow war with time. And someday, when your sister's condition worsens because the trial never happened, you will sit in a room like this, holding her hand, wishing you'd had more time. And you will remember this envelope. His voice stayed calm, but the words cut like knives. That's manipulative, she whispered. Yes, he said. But it's also true. Silence. The monitors beeped steadily. Someone's footsteps echoed faintly in the hallway outside. Inside the room, there was only the sound of Aisha's heartbeat pounding in her ears. If you're still here, your heart is sitting right beside Aisha's right now, caught between fear and desperation. What would you do right now with that envelope in your hand? Walk away with your principles, or grab the lifeline that might save your sister and tie you to a mafia boss? Don't go anywhere. Because what Aisha chooses in the next breath will become the moment her life splits into before and after. Aisha set the envelope down slowly. Her fingers trembled. She tucked her hands into the pockets of her scrubs so he wouldn't see. I have conditions, she said finally. His eyebrows lifted slightly. You're negotiating with a mafia boss? You're negotiating with the person who might keep you alive, she shot back. We're even. He smiled. This time there was something like genuine amusement in it. Go on, he said. 1, she said, ticking it off mentally. I will not help you hurt people. I'm your nurse, not your accomplice. My job is to heal, not harm. Fair, he said. I have enough people who hurt on command. I don't need one more. 2, she continued. Layla stays out of this. Completely. Your people don't show up at our apartment. She doesn't get dragged into your politics. She's a patient, not leverage. His jaw flexed. Understood. Say it properly, she insisted. He nodded once. Layla is not to be touched. Not to be threatened. Not to be used. Anyone who breaks that rule will answer to me. There was a quiet menace in his tone that made the hair on her arms stand up. 3, she said. If at any point I find out you're using me to lie medically, to cover crimes, to fake records, to hurt someone, you're on your own. I walk away. I don't care how much money is on the table. He regarded her, eyes slightly narrowed. Then he said, You have my word. I'm not bringing you into my business. I'm bringing you into my fight to stay alive. Her throat felt tight. 4, she added. I want everything you have on your condition. Past tests, medications, scans, doctor notes, all of it. No more secrets. A shadow crossed his face. Do you know what you're asking? He said quietly. Yes, she replied. I'm asking you to be a patient, not a boss when it comes to this. You want me to save your life? I need the whole picture. Even the parts you don't like looking at. Silence. Then he nodded slowly. You'll have it. 5, she said. I go home tonight and talk to my sister. If I do this, I don't lie to her about leaving the hospital. I'll lie about your details if I have to, but I won't lie that I'm taking a private job. She deserves to know. That might be risky, he said. She's not your enemy, Aisha said. She's my anchor. If you want me on your side, you accept that. He exhaled. Fine. 6, she said. He gave a low laugh. How many conditions do you have? As many as it takes to remind myself I'm not losing my soul in this, she retorted. Go on, he said, still amused. No guns in the treatment room, she said firmly. No threats. No intimidation. When you're with me as a patient, you're not the Black Dragon. You're a man whose blood is trying to kill him. His smile faded slowly. Something like respect slid into its place. Done, he said. When I'm in your clinic, I'm just Jaehoon. And last, she said, you will give me full authority over your medical decisions. I'll listen to your preferences, but if I say a drug is too dangerous, you don't take it. If I say a situation is risking your health too much, you at least listen. I won't be powerless in this. He leaned back, considering. That one is harder, he admitted. I don't always get to choose when my life is in danger. It comes with the territory. I know, she said. But if you want me to fight this disease with you, you have to let me fight it. Not just patch you up after you've ignored every warning. He studied her for a long moment. You're asking me to trust you, he said. You're asking me to risk everything, she replied. Seems fair. Silence. Finally, he nodded once. All right, he said. When it comes to my condition, your word carries weight. I won't promise to obey blindly, but I will promise to listen, and to take your warnings seriously. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Then, Aisha exhaled slowly. I'll do it. The words felt like stepping off a cliff, and somehow also like stepping into air after being stuck underwater too long. You'll work for me, he clarified. Yes, she said. I'll take over your treatment. He held out his hand. It was a simple gesture. Didn't feel simple. His hand was warm, strong, calloused. Years of violence in those fingers. Years of command. Years of guilt and choices and blood. Her hand, smaller, steady despite the tremor she felt inside, slid into his. A nurse. A boss. A life and death contract. Their palms met. An alliance was sealed. Welcome to the Dragon's Den, Aish, he said softly. If your heart just clenched as their hands met, if you felt both fear and something else you don't want to name, you're not alone. Stay. Because from this moment on, Aisha is no longer just a nurse. She's the one person standing between a mafia boss and his grave, and the one person whose life he can shatter with a single order. The car that picked Aisha up the next day was black, sleek, and too quiet. Layla stood at the window, peeking through the curtains, sketchbook forgotten on the table. You're sure about this? Layla asked, her voice a mix of worry and awe. A private patient? This sounds big. It is big, Aisha said, adjusting the strap on her bag. But it's also our best shot. Our. Layla repeated. He's paying for your treatment, Aisha said bluntly. There was no point dressing it up. All of it. The trial. The meds. The follow UPS. Layla went very still. Aish. I know, Aisha said. I know how it sounds. But I set conditions. I'm not going to be anyone's puppet. This is about medicine. That's it. And you trust him? Layla asked quietly. Aisha thought of his eyes when he'd realized his doctor might be killing him. Of the way his jaw had clenched when he'd spoken about his father. Of the eerie calm with which he'd accepted her conditions. I don't trust him, she said. Not yet. I trust what I can do. And I trust that he needs me enough not to hurt me, for now. Layla chewed her lip. You sound like you're about to walk into a movie. It feels like it, Aisha admitted. Layla stepped forward and straightened Aisha's collar. Then don't die in the first act, she murmured. I'm the main character, Aisha said. We don't die early. She tried to keep it light. Layla's small smile told her she appreciated the effort. Outside, a man in a suit waited by the car. Not one of the ones from the hospital, but cut from the same cloth. Aisha Kamara, he called. Yes, she replied. I'm Jean, he said with a brief nod. Boss sent me. Let's go. Boss. The word still made a knot form in her stomach. She turned, hugged Layla tight. Call me if you need anything, Aisha murmured. Anything at all. Same, Layla said. If he turns out to be a vampire, blink twice on video call. I'm hanging up, Aisha said, laughing despite herself. She pulled back, looked at her sister one more time, then headed out. The city blurred outside the tinted windows as they drove. Aisha watched as familiar streets gave way to unfamiliar ones. More gated houses, taller walls, cameras perched like robotic birds. Finally, the car turned into a long tree-lined driveway leading up to a modern structure of glass, steel, and shadows. It didn't look like a house. It looked like a fortress pretending to be a minimalist art piece. High walls. Discreet cameras. Men in suits in places you could only see if you knew where to look. The car stopped at the entrance. Welcome to the boss's residence, Jean said. Home. This was where the black dragon slept. Inside, the floor was polished stone that reflected Aisha's face back at her. The ceilings were high, the decor expensive but cold, like a luxury hotel that had never quite become a home. A woman in a neat black suit approached. Miss Kamara, she said with a perfect bow. I'm Soo-Jean, the house coordinator. I'll show you to the clinic. Clinic. The word felt strange in a place like this. They walked down a hallway that seemed to stretch forever, then turned into a more secluded wing. Security was tighter here. Keypads, retinal scanners, doors that hummed when they opened. Finally, Sujin stopped in front of a heavy door and pressed her palm against a panel. The door slid open. Aisha stepped inside and stopped. It was a clinic. A very expensive, very private, very illegal clinic. The space was outfitted with equipment that made the hospital's machines look outdated. A central exam bed, monitors, lab area, refrigeration units, storage cabinets with organized medications, everything shining and sterile. It felt like walking into an alternate reality where cost was not just irrelevant, it was a joke. Everything you requested has been installed, Sujin said. Additional lab equipment can be brought in within 24 hours if you send a list. Aisha turned slowly, taking it all in. This was hers to run. For better or worse. This way, Sujin added, gesturing to a door on the side. Your quarters. My what? Boss insisted that you have a room on site, she said. For emergencies. You may also go home between shifts, of course, but the option is here. Quarters. Aisha followed her into a small but impeccably furnished room. Bed, desk, closet, adjoining bathroom. A small window looked out onto a private garden enclosed by high walls. It was nicer than her entire apartment. It made her uncomfortable. When will he be here? Aisha asked, returning to the clinic area. He's already here, Sujin replied. He'll join you once he finishes a call. Right on cue, the main door opened. Jaehoon stepped in, wearing dark slacks and a fitted black shirt. No tie, sleeves rolled up to his forearms. There was a bandage peeking out from under the cuff on his left arm. He moved a little slower than a fully healthy man, but there was no mistaking the power in his posture. Good, he said, surveying the room. It looks even better than I imagined. Your clinic is impressive, Aisha said carefully. Our clinic, he corrected. She didn't respond to that. He walked closer, eyes scanning her face. You came, he said. I said I would, she replied. In my world, he said, promises are flexible for most people. I'm not most people, she said. That's why you're here, he said softly. Their eyes held for a moment. Then Aisha shook herself slightly. We start with a full panel, she said, slipping into professional mode. Blood work, scans, genetic tests, everything. I want to see how much damage has been done and how fast it's moving. You're in charge, he said. Just tell me where to sit. Lie down, she corrected, gesturing to the exam bed. His lips twisted in a wry smile. You enjoy bossing me around, don't you? In the clinic, she said, snapping on gloves. Absolutely. He chuckled, then winced as he eased himself onto the bed. She began setting up the equipment, her motions efficient, practiced. But despite years of experience, her fingers brushed his skin more carefully than usual, as if part of her was always aware of exactly who she was touching. His skin was warm, his pulse strong if slightly irregular. She didn't let herself linger on details. Not yet. How long have you felt something was wrong? She asked, swabbing his arm. Years, he said. Started as fatigue, occasional dizziness, then bruises that wouldn't go away. My father had similar issues before he died. Lee said it was hereditary, but manageable. And you believed him, she said. For a while, he replied. My father trusted him, kept him close. When my father died, Lee stayed. He became part of the furniture. You stop questioning furniture after a while. That's how it kills you, Aisha muttered. He looked at her. You speak like someone who's watched people die slowly. I have, she said quietly. At work. At home. Your sister, he said. Her jaw clenched. We're not talking about her here. Why not? He asked. Because this is your clinic, she said, sliding the needle in expertly. Your blood. Your problems. If I bring my personal life in here, I might start liking you. And that would be inconvenient. The honesty surprised even her. His lips twitched. Inconvenient, he echoed. Yes, she said, labeling the vials. I prefer my patients not be capable of having me killed. He laughed, really laughed for the first time since she'd met him. The sound was rich and short but real. Noted, he said. I'll do my best to stay in the inconvenient category and not the disturbing one. You're already in both, she said. He shook his head slowly. You're refreshing, Aish. Don't get used to it, she said. But some part of her warmed at the word. Refreshing. It had been a long time since anyone called her that instead of overworked, stubborn, or tired. As she worked, the air between them shifted. The danger didn't vanish. How could it, with hidden guns right outside the door? But something softer slipped in alongside it. Respect. Curiosity. A fragile, dangerous seed of something that could grow if either of them let it. If you're still here, noticing the way his laugh landed, the way her sarcasm hides her fear, you already feel it too. Don't leave. Because this isn't just going to be a medical battle. It's going to be a slow burn in a locked room. Between a woman who swore she'd never compromise her morals and a man who's built his life on compromise. The days blurred into a rhythm. Aisha divided her time between the mansion clinic and home, between Jaehoon's rare, stubborn blood and Layla's fragile lungs. In the mornings, she reviewed results, adjusted medication schedules, video-called international specialists under the cover of anonymous consultations. Jaehoon's wallet opened every door she knocked on medically. In the afternoons, she poked, scanned, and monitored him. She tracked every reaction, every headache, every moment he winced and pretended not to. In the evenings, she sat on the couch with Layla, watching silly dramas and pretending their lives were not racing headlong toward some unknown cliff. And somewhere in between, lines began to blur. The first time she saw Jaehoon genuinely weak, not from wounds but from the disease itself, he had tried to hide it. It was a long day. They had introduced a new drug, a last-ditch experimental agent based on her revised diagnosis. It was designed to interrupt the destructive pattern chewing through his blood. He had walked into the clinic like nothing was wrong. 2 hours later, he was on the bed, jaw clenched, sweat beading on his forehead. Dizziness? Aisha asked. Just a little, he said tightly. Nausea? He hesitated. No. She gave him a look. He sighed. Yes. You're a terrible liar in here, she said. I'm used to lying to men with guns, he replied. Not women with needles. If you lie to me about side effects, I'll make the needles bigger, she said. He grimaced. You're very violent for someone who claims to be a healer. She smiled faintly. Side effects. He exhaled slowly. Heavy head. Feels like someone turned the gravity up. She adjusted the drip rate, checked his vitals. His blood pressure had dropped, but not dangerously. She stayed by his side, watching, counting his breaths. At some point, his hand moved blindly, searching for something to grip. Without thinking, she let him find her fingers. His hand closed around hers, strong despite the weakness pulling at him. For a second, she considered pulling away. For a second, she didn't. They stayed like that until his breathing eased. He never mentioned it later. Neither did she. But something shifted. He began asking questions. Not just about his condition but about her. Why did you become a nurse? Because doctors here look at people like price tags. Nurses look at them like humans. Most of the time. Why did you stay after your parents died? Because I made a promise to my mother that I'd look after Layla. And I don't break promises. Why do you always wear that necklace? Aisha's hand flew instinctively to the small silver pendant at her throat. Because my father gave it to my mother when they couldn't afford anything else, she said. He said it was a promise that someday they'd have more. They never did. But it's the only thing of theirs I didn't sell when they died. Why didn't you sell it? Because I'm not selling everything, she said. Some things stay. No matter how bad it gets. He nodded slowly. He told her things too. Not all at once. Not in a neat therapy session. In fragments. In the way his voice changed when he spoke about his father, a legendary mob boss who had tried, in his own twisted way, to keep his son away from the darkest parts of the business and failed. In the way his eyes hardened when he mentioned trust. Everyone around my father wanted something, he said once. Power. Money. Access. Even the ones who claimed to be loyal. Especially them. Even Dr. Lee, she asked. He came with good credentials and perfect manners, Jaehoon said. My father liked him. I like that someone finally spoke to us like we were just patients, not kings. Maybe that's why I didn't see it. See what? The way he started saying we less see you more. The way he smiled when he explained difficult choices, like he enjoyed being the only one who understood them. Classic God complex, Aisha muttered. I grew up around men who thought they were gods, he said. I should have recognized it. His bitterness was quiet. She wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault. She didn't. Not yet. Because in her world, doctors lied with charts. In his, people lied with guns. And somewhere between those two worlds was a man whose blood was running out of time. If you're still here, noticing the small details, the hand squeeze, the late-night conversations, it means you're already invested in more than just the gunfights and lab results. Stay. Because as their trust deepens, so does the danger. And the first real crack in their fragile alliance is coming. From inside the clinic itself. It started small. A mislabeled vial. A syringe left on the wrong tray. A minor allergic reaction that shouldn't have happened with the medications Aisha knew she'd ordered. At first she thought it was fatigue. She'd been running herself ragged, double-checking Jaehoon's charts by day, watching Layla sleep by night, fielding late-night calls from specialists in different time zones. Mistakes happen. But Aisha didn't make those kinds of mistakes. And they kept happening. One morning she found a vial in the fridge that looked identical to the new drug they were using. Same color, same label. But something in the way the liquid clung to the glass made her pause. She pulled both vials out, held them up to the light. One was slightly more viscous, a fraction darker. Her stomach dropped. She ran both through a quick test in the lab corner, basic but enough to tell the difference. The identical vial had trace amounts of a compound that would have counteracted their progress and worsened his underlying condition. Her hands went cold. She checked the inventory. On paper, everything was perfect. In reality, someone had swapped one of the vials. Just one. Enough to cause a setback. Enough to make it look like the treatment wasn't working as well as hoped. Enough to keep him sick. Aisha forced herself to breathe. Panicking would get her nowhere. She set the sabotaged vial aside, locked it in a small safe drawer only she could open. Then she took the real medication to Jaehoon. He was on the phone when she entered, speaking Korean quietly, his tone clipped. He ended the call quickly when he saw her face. What happened? He asked. Nothing, she said automatically. He gave her a look. You're a terrible liar when you care about someone. The word slipped past her defenses before she could stop it. Someone. Not something. She ignored the implication. We have a problem, she said. And I need to be sure before I say more. He watched her carefully. Be sure quickly. She administered the correct dose, monitored his vitals, then pretended nothing was wrong while her mind raced. Who had access? Her. Sujin. The guards. Any of the house staff theoretically, but the clinic wing was restricted. And her stomach twisted. Dr. Lee. He hadn't been in the mansion clinic since she took over, but he still had access to supplies that came in. She waited until Jaehoon was resting, then went on a quiet hunt. Inventory logs, delivery schedules, staff rotation lists. A disturbing pattern emerged. Every time there was a minor setback in Jaehoon's condition over the last few months, it lined up with a shipment that had passed through Dr. Lee's hands. Coincidence can only stretch so far before it snaps. By the time Aisha returned to the clinic, her head was pounding. Jaehoon was sitting up, staring at the wall. He didn't look surprised when she said, "We need to talk." About sabotage, she said. His jaw flexed. Who? Someone who wants you sick enough to control, she said. But not dead yet. Not until you're where they want you. He stood slowly, the motion still not entirely fluid but more powerful than before. The treatments were working, which meant whoever was trying to undermine them was running out of time. Show me, he said. She did. She showed him the altered vial, the lab results, the inventory discrepancies, the timing of the setbacks. By the end, his hands were clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. His eyes were cold. Lee, he said. It wasn't just a name. It was a verdict. You don't know that yet, Aisha said carefully. It's highly likely he's involved. But we need proof. Hard proof. You have it. he growled, gesturing to the data. I have a pattern, she corrected. If you go at him with this alone, he'll twist it, blame some faceless supplier, accuse me of incompetence. You might believe me. Your counsel won't. And he's clearly got friends there. He stopped. Counsel. He had a boss's counsel. And Dr. Lee had access to them. Aisha could see the realization hitting him in waves. How long? He asked, his voice low. How long what? How long has he been doing this? She inhaled slowly. If my guess is right, since shortly before your father died. He closed his eyes briefly, like her words physically struck him. When he opened them again, the monster everyone whispered about was standing in front of her. Calm. Controlled. Deadly. He's not just killing me, Jaehoon said quietly. He killed my father. That's what it looks like, Aisha said softly. And he's working with someone, he continued. Someone who wants me weak. Someone who wants the black dragon without the dragon. He looked at her, something like gratitude and fury warring in his gaze. You've done more in a few weeks than he did in years, he said. How do I thank you for telling me the truth? Don't shoot anyone in my clinic, she said. That'll be a good start. His lips twitched despite the storm brewing behind his eyes. You chose the wrong profession, he said. You would have made an excellent general. No thanks, she muttered. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. If you're right, he said, this is no longer just about my health. It's about war. And you are standing in the middle of it. I know, she said. I knew that when I took your hand in that hospital room. For someone who claims to value her life, you make very reckless choices, he said. I claim to value other people's lives, she corrected. Mine was never the main priority. Make it one, he said sharply. You're no good to anyone dead. The intensity in his tone startled her. Before she could respond, the door opened. Dr. Lee stepped in, wearing his usual polite smile, eyes flicking from Aisha to Jaehoon to the equipment. Boss, he said. I heard there were new developments in your treatment. I came to see how you were doing. Aisha felt the air drop a few degrees. This was it. The snake in the room. Doctor, Jaehoon said smoothly, slipping his own mask back on. Just in time. We were talking about you. If your stomach just nodded at the sight of Dr. Lee stepping into that clinic, you're exactly where you should be, on edge, waiting for someone to flinch. Don't go. The deeper betrayal is about to crawl out of the shadows, and Aisha and Jaehoon will have to decide whether they'll fight together or let suspicion tear them apart. Dr. Lee's gaze moved from Jaehoon's face to Aisha's steady stance by the equipment. You seem stronger, he observed, his tone smooth. That's excellent news. I'm feeling different, Jaehoon replied. Hard to say if it's good or bad. Side effects, Dr. Lee said lightly. Almost always unpleasant at first. I wish we could avoid them. So do I, Aisha said. Fortunately, when the meds are correct, they're manageable. Something flickered in his eyes at her choice of words. Are you implying they weren't correct before? I'm implying nothing, she said. I'm stating facts. Jaehoon watched them like a referee waiting for the first punch. I've been looking into some of the recent shipments, Aisha continued. There were some irregularities. Irregularities? Dr. Lee repeated. In this house. In the supplies you approved, Aisha said calmly. His smile thinned. I see. Would you care to explain how a vial labeled as one drug contained a compound that would accelerate his condition? She asked. Because from where I'm standing, that looks like sabotage. The word hung in the air. Dr. Lee's eyes went cold. That's a serious accusation, he said softly. You've been here how long? Long enough to see what you either missed or created, she replied. He turned to Jaehoon, smoothing his expression. Boss, with respect, this nurse is overstepping. She's new. She doesn't understand the complexity of your condition. No, Jaehoon said quietly. You don't understand. The temperature in the room dropped. For months, Jaehoon continued. I've been getting worse. You told me it was inevitable. You told me it was the disease. You told me I should accept my fate. And yet, in a few weeks under her oversight, my numbers are improving. My strength is returning. She found what you never told me existed. Either she's a miracle worker. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous purr. Or you've been lying to me. Dr. Lee's carefully constructed calm wavered. You trusted me for years, he said. And I was a fool, Jaehoon said. That ends now. He gestured to Aisha. Show him. She did. She pulled up the logs, the lab tests, the pattern. She kept her voice clinical, sticking to facts, letting the evidence do the talking. With every point, Dr. Lee's face tightened. Those could be mistakes, he said finally. Once or twice, maybe, Aisha said. But this many? With this consistency? That's not incompetence. That's intention. Do you have any idea what you're suggesting? Dr. Lee snapped. That I what? Spent years slowly poisoning the man whose life and protection I depend on? To what end? Power, Aisha said. Control. Maybe a better offer from someone who wants the throne without the dragon. Silence. The accusation hung between them like a blade. And then, just for a fraction of a second, Dr. Lee's eyes flickered. Not with fear. With calculation. And that tiny crack was all Aisha needed to know she was right. So that's it, he said softly. You've let an outsider fill your head with conspiracy theories. She filled my veins with actual medicine, Jaehoon said. Big difference. You're being emotional, Dr. Lee said. Good, Jaehoon replied. Emotions remind me I'm still alive, despite your best efforts. The insult landed. Dr. Lee straightened. The polite mask slid back into place, but it was thinner now. If you truly believe I've betrayed you, he said, then the real betrayal is yours. After all these years, you choose a stranger over the man who's kept you alive this long. Kept me alive just enough, Jaehoon said. Sick enough to be dependent. Weak enough to be replaced. He stepped closer, his presence suddenly suffocating. Who are you working with? He asked softly. Dr. Lee smiled. You think I'd tell you? He said. I think, Jaehoon replied, his voice soft as silk and twice as dangerous. You like listening to yourself talk too much to stay quiet forever. But we have time. Aisha's skin crawled. Time. Was he going to torture him? In her clinic? She stepped between them, heart pounding. Stop, she said firmly. Not here. Both men looked at her. This is a treatment space, she said. Not an interrogation room. Not a battlefield. You want to question him, do it somewhere else. Dr. Lee laughed softly. Listen to her. She thinks she can order you around. She can, Jaehoon said. In here. The simplicity of it shocked both of them. In this room, he continued. She is the one thing between me and death. I listened to her. You. He stepped back, eyes never leaving Dr. Lee's face. I've listened to long enough. He turned to Aisha. Leave us, he said quietly. Her stomach nodded. No. His eyebrows lifted. No. If you question him now alone without precautions, she said. He'll twist it. He'll talk his way out. Or worse, he'll provoke you into doing something you'll regret. You think he doesn't know how your temper works? He's been studying you for years. His jaw flexed. She pressed on. Give me a day, she said. Let me dig deeper. I can find something solid. Documents. Records. Messages. Something your counsel can't deny. Then when you move against him, you won't be just a suspicious boss. You'll be justice. Dr. Lee snorted. Justice? In this world. Even criminals hate being played, Aisha said. Your counsel won't stand by a traitor if the evidence is clear. They may be ruthless, but they're not suicidal. Jaehoon's gaze moved between them. One man who had lied to him for years. One woman who'd saved his life in weeks. He made his choice. Get out, he said to Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee's eyes widened. Excuse me. You're dismissed, Jaehoon said. From my case. From my house. From my life. You can't. I can, Jaehoon said. And I just did. If I see you near my supplies again, I'll assume you came to finish what you started. Silence. For a moment, Aisha thought Dr. Lee might beg. He didn't. He smiled instead, sharp, cold, poisonous. You think she'll save you, he said quietly. You think your little nurse will keep death from your door. But some diseases, boss, are bigger than blood. He looked at Aisha then, his gaze like a scalpel. Be careful, Miss Kamara, he said softly. You're stepping into a game you don't know the rules of. I learn fast, she said. We'll see, he murmured. He turned and walked out, shoulders relaxed, hands at his sides. But Aisha could see it now. The calculation. The planning. He wasn't scared. He was already thinking of his next move. I should have killed him, Jaehoon said quietly once the door closed. In my clinic? Aisha said. No. You did the right thing. For now. He looked at her like she'd just given him medication that tasted like poison but would save him. I hate waiting, he muttered. Get used to it, she replied. You're trying to outlive a disease and an enemy. Patience is now part of your treatment plan. He almost smiled at that. Almost. If you're still here, feeling the tension between revenge and restraint tightening like a wire, you know this isn't over. Don't leave now. Because the rival faction Dr. Lee serves is about to make a move. And they're not coming for Jaehoon first. They're coming for the person he can't afford to lose. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. Aisha had just finished adjusting Jaehoon's medication schedule, satisfied that his numbers were finally trending in the right direction. His energy was improving. His color was better. The dark circles under his eyes had lightened. They were winning. On one battlefield. She left the mansion in the late afternoon, promising to return the next morning. Get some sleep, he had said. You're starting to look like me before coffee. I'll sleep when you stop needing daily monitoring, she'd replied. I'll hold you to that, he'd said. She'd smiled then left. The city was slick and gray, rain turning headlights into streaks. She stopped at the store to finally buy the lion juice Layla loved. It was a small thing, but it felt like a promise kept. By the time she reached her building, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. She shook off her umbrella, climbed the stairs and pushed open the apartment door. Layla, guess who finally remembered your terrible juice? She called. Prepare to worship me as. The words died in her throat. The living room was a mess. The couch was overturned. Layla's sketchbook lay on the floor, pages crumpled. A chair was knocked over, one leg bent. The oxygen concentrator hummed uselessly. The nasal cannula lying abandoned on the carpet. Aisha's heart stopped. Layla, she whispered. No answer. Her chest constricted. She dropped the bag, lion juice rolling under the table, and stumbled further in. Layla. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She snatched it out with shaking hands. Unknown number. She answered. Aisha Kamara. A calm voice said. Male. Smooth. Not Jaehoon. Not anyone she knew. You should sit down. Where is my sister? She demanded. There was a pause. Safe, the voice said. For now. Her vision blurred. If you touch her. That depends on you, he said. We took great care not to harm her. She's important. Aisha's stomach twisted. Who is this? Someone who is concerned about the Black Dragon's sudden improved health, the man said. Someone who has been kept well informed by a friend of his. Dr. Lee. Her grip tightened around the phone. What do you want? She whispered. To correct an imbalance, the man said. Your presence has disrupted certain plans. You've made the boss stronger when he was supposed to be weaker. It's admirable in its own way, but also inconvenient. Aisha's breath shook. Put Layla on the phone. I need to know she's alive. A rustle. Then a faint, shaky voice. Aish? Aisha's knees nearly buckled. Layla, she choked. Are you hurt? Can you breathe? I'm okay, Layla whispered. They gave me oxygen. Said they wouldn't hurt me if you. Her voice faltered. If you listen. If you listen. The lion juice on the floor stared up at Aisha accusingly. Enough, the man said, taking the phone back. Here's what will happen. You will come to the location I send you. Alone. No guards. No cops. No boss. Once you are here, we will explain what we need from you. And if I don't? Aisha asked, her voice hollow. Then your sister's condition will deteriorate, he said. Very quickly. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting the scream clawing at her throat. Don't hurt her, she whispered. Please. That is entirely up to you, he said. Check your messages. You have 30 minutes. The line went dead. Her phone buzzed again. A location pin. A warehouse district she didn't recognize on the edge of the city. Her hand shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. She dialed Jaehoon. He answered on the second ring. Aish, he said. You left 10 minutes ago. Did you forget something? They took her, she gasped. Silence. Who? He asked, his voice suddenly flat. Layla, she choked out. They took Layla. They trashed the apartment and they called and they said if I don't come they'll kill her. She heard him inhale sharply. Where are you? He asked. Home, she said, her voice breaking. They sent a location. They said I have to go alone. If they see you they'll hurt her. Aish, he said slowly. Listen to me. I have to go, she said. They're going to hurt her, Jaehoon. I can't just stand here. I have to go. You are not going alone, he said. If they see your men. They won't, he said. We'll be invisible. You can't promise that, she said. And if they even suspect. He cut her off, voice suddenly raw. If you walk in there alone, he said. You're not coming out. They won't let you leave. They need you as leverage. Against me. They'll use you until you're broken. Or dead. I don't care what they do to me, she snapped. I care what they do to her. He was silent for a beat. Aish, he said quietly. Look at the floor. She did, without thinking. The juice, he said. Her eyes landed on the bottle, shoved under the coffee table. You bought that for her, he said. You were finally going to keep one small promise in a world where you've been forced to break too many. Do you think she wants you to die on a dirty warehouse floor to keep it? Tears spilled onto Aisha's cheeks. You don't understand, she whispered. She's all I have. I understand perfectly, he said. She's your heart walking around outside your body. So listen to me when I say this. If you go alone, they win. If we go smart together, we have a chance. She clutched the phone like a lifeline. What if they hurt her while we're planning? She whispered. They won't, he said. Not yet. You're the real prize. They'll keep her just stable enough to keep you moving. That buys us time. Not much, but enough. How can you be so sure? She asked. Because this is how men like them think, he said. They want me weakened, cornered, desperate. Killing her too fast would waste leverage. And they underestimate you. They think you'll panic and run blindly. They don't realize you've been outsmarting death for years. His faith in her hurt almost as much as the fear. Come to the house, he said. Now. We planning this. Together. I swear to you, Aish, by everything I still have left, we will get her back. What if you're wrong? She whispered. Then you can hate me for the rest of your life, he said. But at least you'll have one. If your chest is tight right now, if you can feel Aisha's panic and Jaehoon's ruthless calm twisting together, don't look away. What comes next is the heart of this story. A rescue built not just on guns and violence, but on a nurse's mind and a mafia boss's heart. The war room was not a room. It was a quiet corner of the mansion where walls turned into screens and tables turned into maps. Within minutes of Aisha's arrival, a small team of Jaehoon's most trusted men, Jean included, stood around a digital layout of the warehouse district. Aisha's eyes were red, her hands still trembling, but her mind had clicked into a different gear. She had spent years learning to stay calm when everything was falling apart. I traced the number, Jean said. Burner. But the location pin is real. This warehouse here. He tapped the map. Used to be a shipping hub. Now technically abandoned. Technically, Jaehoon said. Which means it's perfect for a trap, Aisha muttered. Jaehoon looked at her. Talk to me, he said. About what? About how you see this, he said. You didn't survive this long by being stupid. What's the first thing your medical brain does when someone is taken? She exhaled shakily. I assess their condition, their environment, their time frame. Layla's lungs are weak. She can't breathe well in dusty, cold places. If they moved her rough, she could have bruised ribs, maybe a cracked one. Stress makes her oxygen levels drop. If they're not giving her proper air, she'll fade fast. Which means we don't have hours to play with, she said. We have maybe 90 minutes before her body starts to shut down if conditions are bad. Silence. How long has it been? She asked. 40 minutes since the call, Jean replied. Aisha swallowed. Then we have 50 minutes to get in, find her, and stabilize her. We will, Jaehoon said. She met his gaze. You will, she said. Tell me how. He studied her for a moment, then nodded to Jean. Explain, he said. We can't storm the front, Jean said. They'll expect that. And the call said you have to go alone, Miss Kamara. They'll be watching. So we give them what they expect, Jaehoon said. No, Aisha snapped. You don't go. At all. They're using Layla to draw you out. If you show up. I'm not staying here while they hold your sister, he said. That's not happening. She realized with a strange jolt that he said your sister with the same protective fierceness he used when talking about his crew. Listen, Jean said. We send Aisha in. Alone. As they demanded. No visible security. Meanwhile, we approach from the blind side. He zoomed in on the map, pointing to an alley. There's an access point here. Old loading bay. Cameras are likely on the main entrance, but this angle has cover. They'll still have someone on the inside, Aisha said. Watching me. Watching her. Good, Jaehoon said. Let them watch. Let them feel safe. How is that good? She demanded. Because people who feel safe get sloppy, he said. They talk too much. They stand too close. They leave openings. She swallowed. Openings for who? For you, he said. She blinked. For me. You're not just bait, he said. You're our inside angle. You're the only one they trust to walk in unarmed. I'm a nurse, she said. And? He pressed. And I know things they don't, she realized slowly. He nodded. You told me once that in a crisis you see everything differently. Right now you're the most dangerous person in that building, and they won't even know it. It would have been flattering if her stomach wasn't in knots. What do you need? He asked. She took a breath. Medical kit, she said. Portable oxygen. Small enough to pass for a personal device. And? She hesitated. And what? Sedatives, she said. Fast-acting. Short duration. Injectable. His eyebrows lifted. Aish. She met his gaze steadily. You wanted me to step into your world. I'm here. Let me fight the way I know how. He watched her for a moment, something like pride flickering in his eyes. Jean, he said. Get her what she needs. Already on it, Jean replied. Within minutes, a compact medical bag lay open on the table. Aisha's hands moved automatically, checking contents, loading syringes, counting doses. This feels wrong, she muttered. Which part? Jaehoon asked. All of it, she said. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Listen to me, he said. You are not becoming like them by doing this. You're using what you know to protect the people you love. That's who you've always been. This doesn't change that. What if I freeze? She whispered. You won't, he said. You don't freeze in emergencies. You go still. That's different. Stillness can be lethal in the right hands. Her heart beat faster for a different reason now. If we survive this, she muttered. You're not allowed to psychoanalyze me anymore. If we survive this, he said, you can set all the rules you want. Jean handed Aisha a small device. Mic, he said. Hidden in the strap of your bag. We'll hear everything. And you? She asked Jaehoon. Where will you be? Where they don't expect, he said. That's not an answer, she said. He smiled faintly. It's the only one I can give. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. Her necklace. No, not hers. His. A small black dragon pendant on a thin chain. Wear this, he said. Absolutely not, she replied. I'm not announcing your gang affiliation like a name tag. This isn't about territory, he said. It's about message. If they see it, they'll know you were with me before you came. It'll make them cautious. And when men like them are cautious, they talk. They ask questions. They stall. Every second buys us time. She hesitated, then took it. The metal was cool against her skin at first. It warmed quickly. You look different, he said. How? Like you're not just carrying your own life anymore, he said. I've never just carried my own, she replied. He nodded slowly. You ready? He asked. No, she said honestly. But I'm going. If anyone touches you, he said, his voice suddenly low and deadly, they're dead. Just get Layla, she said. That's all that matters. He looked like he wanted to argue. He didn't. Go, he said. If your heart is pounding right now, wondering if Aisha can pull this off, stay. This is where everything they've built, every needle, every argument, every look, gets tested in fire. The warehouse loomed like a sleeping beast. Rust streaked down its walls. Broken windows gaped like missing teeth. The air smelled like rain and old metal. Aisha's footsteps echoed on the cracked concrete as she approached the main door, medical bag slung over her shoulder, dragon pendant hidden beneath her shirt. She tried to breathe evenly, one step at a time. For Layla. For Layla. The door creaked open before she could knock. Two men stood there, tall, armed, faces half hidden by baseball caps. No weapons, one said, holding out his hand. I'm a nurse, she snapped. This is a medical kit. He grabbed the bag roughly. Careful, she hissed. You dropped that and my sister could die faster. He paused. They exchanged a glance, then handed the bag back. Boss said she needs her tools, the other muttered. They gestured her inside. The warehouse interior was dim, lit by harsh overhead bulbs that left pockets of darkness everywhere. In the center, a cluster of crates formed a makeshift stage. On one of them sat Layla. A tube ran from a portable oxygen tank to her nose. Her hands were bound loosely in front of her, more for show than restraint. She was pale, but her eyes were sharp when she saw Aisha. Aish, she gasped. Aisha ran to her, ignoring the guard's shouted warnings. Don't, one snapped. Shut up, she snarled, dropping to her knees in front of Layla. Breathe. Let me see you. She checked her pulse, her color, the flow of oxygen. Are you okay? She whispered. I've been better, Layla said weakly. They have terrible taste in kidnappers. Aisha almost laughed, a hysterical little sound. Of course you'd be sarcastic, she muttered. You scared the life out of me. Takes one to know one, Layla whispered. A slow clap echoed through the warehouse. Aisha turned. A man stepped out from the shadows near the back. He was not as imposing as Jaehoon physically. Slimmer. Sharper. His suit was expensive, his hair perfectly styled, his smile polite. But his eyes were dead. Miss Kamara, he said. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Can't say the same, she replied, standing protectively between him and Layla. I apologize for the theatrics, he said. But you wouldn't have come if we'd simply sent an invitation, would you? You kidnapped my sister, she said. There's no apology big enough for that. He waved a hand. Let's be practical. She's alive. For now. That's more mercy than our world usually offers. Your world, she said. Not mine. He smiled. You'd be surprised how much overlap there is. Who are you? She demanded. A concerned businessman, he said. Let's just say I've been inconvenienced by the Black Dragon's continued survival. Then you should have studied his condition more carefully, she said. Because he was dying just fine before I showed up. His lips twitched. Exactly. That's the problem. You fixed a mistake that was years in the making. So it was true. They had been counting on his slow death. I didn't fix a mistake, she said coldly. I corrected a crime. Semantics, he replied. Here's the situation, Miss Kamara. You are very good at what you do. Good enough to make my carefully cultivated illness plan fall apart. That cannot continue. You can't expect me to just stop treating him, she said. Oh, I expect more than that, he said. I expect you to undo some of your excellent work. Her stomach churned. No. He raised an eyebrow. No. I'm not poisoning my patient, she said. Not poisoning, he said. Simply adjusting. Miscalculating. Choosing less effective options. You can make it look like the disease is taking its inevitable course. You know it well enough now. No, she repeated. He sighed. You're very stubborn. They warned me about that. Who? She asked. Almost on cue, another figure stepped out from the shadows. Dr. Lee. He looked tired, his usual polish a bit frayed, but his eyes were bright. "Hello, Aisha," he said. "You've made quite a mess. You kidnapped a sick teenager," she said. "And I'm the messy one? You forced our hand," he said calmly. "You could have kept your head down. Taken the bonus. Let nature take its course. But you had to be a hero. Someone had to be," she snapped. He smiled faintly. "And now your sister will pay for your heroism. Unless you cooperate." "Do it," the other man said. Quietly. Slowly. "Meanwhile, you continue being the caring nurse. The grieving, helpless professional who tried everything. When he finally dies, you'll walk away with your conscience soothed by your own performance." He stepped closer, eyes cold. "And your sister will live," he added. The choice hung in the air like smoke. Poison the man who could save Layla, or watch Layla die because she refused. Her vision narrowed to a tunnel. "Aish!" Layla whispered behind her. "Don't." "Shut up," Aisha whispered back, tears burning her eyes. She could hear Jaehoon's voice in the memory of the clinic. "Make your life a priority," he'd said. He hadn't said anything about her soul. "If you're still here, your mind is probably screaming options at Aisha. Lies, tricks, sacrifices. That's good. It means you care. Stay. Because the choice she makes next isn't simple. It's not neat. It's not pure. It's what happens when love, guilt, and survival collide." Aisha swallowed hard. "Prove she's stable," she said finally. "Let me see her numbers." Dr. Lee tilted his head. "Even now you're thinking like a nurse. Even now you're thinking like a coward," she shot back. "You want me to trust you? Show me you haven't already started killing her." He hesitated, then gestured to a small portable monitor on a crate nearby. Aisha stepped over, checked the readings. Oxygen levels low but acceptable. Heart rate elevated but not alarming. Respiratory rate shallow, but sustainable with the tank's flow. "And her meds?" Aisha demanded. "Has she had anything?" "Just a mild sedative," Dr. Lee said. "To keep her calm." She studied his face. He was lying. There was something else. Something off about the color of Layla's lips. "Bring me my bag," she said. One of the guards tossed it at her feet. Slowly, the main man warned. She knelt, unzipped it, hands moving with practiced ease despite the adrenaline pounding through her veins. She pulled out a small flashlight, checked Layla's pupils. Respiratory distress was creeping in. If she didn't adjust something soon, this would turn into a freefall. "Her condition is more fragile than you understand," Aisha said, standing. "If you kill her by accident, you lose your leverage. You need me to keep her stable while you play your little game." "You're not in a position to taunt us," the man said. "I'm in the perfect position," she replied. "You need me. He needs me. Everyone in this nightmare seems to need me. So listen carefully. I will not poison my patient. I will not miscalculate his treatment. I will not undo the work I've done keeping him alive. I took an oath." The man's gaze hardened. "Then you're throwing your sister away." "No," Aisha said quietly. "I'm doing what I've always done. I'm looking for a third option." Dr. Lee rolled his eyes. "There is no third option, Ms. Kamara. There is sacrifice or there is obedience." "You'd be surprised how often that's not true," she said. She glanced down at her bag, at the syringes she'd prepared. Sedatives. Short-acting. Undetectable at a glance. "Fine," she said slowly. "I'll help you." "Aish." Layla gasped. "Quiet," Aisha snapped, more harshly than she meant. "I'm doing this for you." Her voice cracked deliberately on the last word. She needed them to believe she was breaking. The main man smiled. "Good. You're smarter than you look. I need one thing in return," she said. "Bold of you to negotiate," he said. "You want subtlety, right?" she said. "You want this to look like a natural decline. That takes time. That takes proper staging. I need Layla somewhere safer, cleaner, with better air." "You're not in a position to make demands," he repeated. "You want me to focus on your grand plan while my sister suffocates in this dust trap?" She snapped. "You'll lose both of us. Move her somewhere with a bed and stable oxygen. Let me monitor her. If I see she's safe, I can concentrate on your instructions." He watched her, weighing. Finally, he nodded to Dr. Lee. Set up a room, he said. Clean enough to satisfy our nurse. We're not murderers. Aisha almost choked at that. Dr. Lee inclined his head and moved to a side corridor, gesturing for the guards to carry Layla carefully. As they moved, Aisha subtly palmed one of the syringes from her bag, slipping it into her sleeve. Now, the main man said, turning back to her. Let's talk about dosage. She listened. She let him think he was winning. He outlined exactly how they wanted her to alter Jaehoon's meds. Slow changes. Slight underdoses at critical times. Introducing a conflicting drug by mistake that would weaken his immune system over weeks. As he spoke, Aisha memorized everything. Names, doses, timings, evidence. He had no idea he was confessing to a murder plan with every word. All the while, her fingers brushed the hidden mic in her bag strap, praying it was transmitting, praying Jaehoon was listening, praying he was close. Finally, the man stepped back. Do we have an understanding? He asked. Aisha nodded slowly. Yes, she said. Good, he said. Now to ensure your cooperation. He stepped closer. Too close. Perfect. Her pulse kicked into overdrive. He reached for her chin, forcing her to look up at him. We'll be watching you. Every step. Every dose. If you try anything clever. She moved. Fast. Years of muscle memory guiding her hand. The syringe slid from her sleeve into her palm. Her other hand knocked his arm aside just enough. She drove the needle into the soft flesh just under his ribs and depressed the plunger in one smooth, practiced motion. He froze. What? Short-acting sedative, she said, stepping back as he staggered. You'll wake up in 20 minutes. Maybe. He swayed, eyes wide with shock and fury, then crumpled. Chaos exploded. The guards shouted, guns drawn. Aisha dropped, grabbing her bag and rolling behind a stack of crates as a shot rang out. She heard Jin's voice boom from the shadows. Move! Suddenly the warehouse was full of running feet, shouted orders, the dull thuds of bodies hitting concrete. Jaehoon's men had arrived. Bullets cracked, but Aisha could hear the discipline in Jaehoon's orders, short, controlled bursts. Disabling shots, not wild spray. She crawled along the floor, heart pounding, toward the corridor where Layla had been taken. A figure stepped into her path. Dr. Lee. He held a small pistol pointed straight at her chest. Always so dramatic, he said quietly. You really thought you could outplay all of us with a syringe? Worked on your boss, she said. He's not my boss, Lee snapped. Not anymore. Then who is? She asked. He smiled. The future. She rolled her eyes despite the fear. You're insufferable. You're in my way, he said. You should have stayed in your nice, underpaid job and let things run their course. You should have stayed a doctor, she shot back. You might have saved lives instead of selling them. He shrugged. Saving one mobster at a time was never my ambition. The gun didn't tremble. He was really going to shoot her. Not to scare. To kill. Step aside, he said. I'll make it quick. She thought of Layla. Of Jaehoon. Of the dragon pendant against her chest. No, she said. Then a shot rang out. But it didn't hit her. Dr. Lee jerked, eyes going wide. Blood bloomed on his shoulder. He staggered, dropping the gun. It clattered to the floor. Behind him stood Jaehoon. Breathing hard. Pale. But alive and steady, gun in hand. She said no, he said. Dr. Lee laughed, a wet, bitter sound. You always did have a weakness for strays. Better strays than snakes, Jaehoon said. Dr. Lee glanced at Aisha, then at Jaehoon. Even if you live through this, he said, you won't live long. Men like us don't get happy endings. He lunged. For the fallen gun. Aisha moved. So did Jaehoon. Three things happened in a blur. Aisha kicked the gun away. Dr. Lee grabbed a scalpel from a nearby tray instead, swinging wildly. And Jaehoon stepped between them. The blade sliced across his side just below the ribcage. He grunted, staggered. Aisha screamed. Time slowed. She saw the angle of the cut. The depth. The location. Not immediately fatal. But dangerous if not treated. Her brain cataloged it even as her body moved. She grabbed a metal tray and slammed it into Dr. Lee's wrist, sending the scalpel flying. He gasped, then laughed again, breathless. You can't save everyone, nurse, he said. That's the first lesson they should have taught you. And they should have taught you not to underestimate us, she snarled. Behind her, footsteps thundered. Jean and 2 other men burst into the corridor, weapons raised. Dr. Lee looked around, saw no exit. For a moment he considered running. Aisha could see it. Then his shoulders dropped. He smirked. I guess, he said. I'll have to settle for watching how this ends from a different angle. What are you talking about? Aisha demanded. He smiled. Check your sister's line, he said softly. Her blood ran cold. She spun and sprinted down the corridor. The room at the end was small, lit by a single bare bulb. Layla lay on a narrow cot, oxygen tube in place, but something was wrong. Her chest rose too slowly. Her lips were bluer. A syringe lay on the floor, empty. No! Aisha screamed, rushing to her side. She checked the oxygen. It was on. But Layla's pupils were sluggish. Her pulse was weak. Aisha's brain snapped into overdrive. Sedative. Combined with her pre-existing meds. Respiratory depression. She grabbed her bag, hands flying. Mask. Manual resuscitator. Emergency stimulant. Aish! Layla whispered, barely audible. Don't talk, Aisha said, voice shaking. Just stay with me. Please. Stay. She worked. Breathing for her sister. Forcing air into lungs that had always fought too hard. Administering the exact dose of reversal agent her instincts screamed she needed. Behind her, she felt rather than saw Jaehoon at the doorway. Blood seeping through his shirt. He didn't speak. Didn't move. He just watched. Waiting to see if the woman he'd pinned his life on could pull off one more miracle. If you're here, your heart is probably in your throat. Don't look away now. This is the moment the story was always heading toward. A nurse between death and the people she loves, one hand on her sister's chest, the other still metaphorically on the Mafia boss's pulse. Life and death. Come on, Layla, Aisha whispered, compressing the bag. Breathe. Don't you dare leave me like this. She counted breaths, watched the monitor she'd hastily set up from her kit. 10 seconds. 15. A small stuttering inhale. Good, she breathed. Again. She adjusted the oxygen flow. Repositioned Layla's head to open the airway more. Her mind flicked through every case like this she'd seen. Every failure. Every tear-stained family she'd held. Not this time. Not her. Remember the lion juice? She murmured, tears streaming. You didn't even get to drink it, idiot. You think I'm letting you go without at least one more taste? Another breath. Stronger. Her pulse ticked up a little. Come on, Aisha cried, shoulders shaking. You have to live. I made a deal with a literal mob boss for you. If you die, this whole thing was for nothing, and that is not allowed. Your bargaining skills are questionable, a weak voice rasped. Aisha choked on a laugh and sob. Layla's eyes fluttered open. Hazy but present. You're so dramatic, Layla whispered. I was taking a nap. You were slipping, Aisha said, voice breaking. Don't ever do that again. No promises, Layla murmured. Aisha pressed her forehead to her sister's, sobbing relief crashing through her like a wave. Behind them there was a soft sound. She turned. Jaehoon stood braced against the doorframe, one hand pressed against his bleeding side, eyes shining suspiciously. You okay? She demanded automatically. I've been better, he said. But I'll live. She realized with a start that she believed him now. He would live. Because she'd helped him. Because he'd trusted her. Because together, they'd outsmarted a doctor who had played God for too long. Dr. Lee? She asked. Jean stepped into view behind Jaehoon. Alive, Jean said. For now. Bound in the main room. We'll decide what to do with him when everyone here is stable. Good, Aisha said. I want to look him in the eye when we destroy everything he built. Layla frowned weakly. Am I missing something? Just a small war, Aisha said. You can catch the rerun later. Sounds exhausting, Layla muttered. It is, Jaehoon said from the door. Your sister is very bad at choosing easy lives. Layla's gaze shifted to him, focusing slowly. You're him, she whispered. Him who? He asked. The boss, she said, blinking. The dragon guy. Aisha's heart stuttered. You know about him? She asked. I'm sick, Layla said. Not deaf. I hear stuff. Also, your face changes when you talk about your difficult patient. Aisha flushed. No, it doesn't. It does, Layla said. It gets all annoyed and soft at the same time. Like when you talk about me. Jaehoon looked oddly pleased at that. We can unpack your creepy observation skills later, Aisha muttered. Layla smiled weakly. You like him? Absolutely not, Aisha said too quickly. Absolutely yes, Layla whispered then coughed. Shut up and breathe, Aisha said, wiping her eyes. If it helps, Jaehoon said. She scares me more than I scare her. That does help, Layla said, eyes closing again, this time in genuine safer exhaustion. Aisha exhaled slowly. The crisis wasn't over. But the worst of it, the edge of death moment, had passed. She straightened, shoulders heavy but steady. We need to clean that wound, she said to Jaehoon, nodding to his side. Already? He asked. Yes, she said. You bleed out. I'll have to start this entire story over with a different boss. And that's too much work. He chuckled then winced. Boss, Jean said quietly. The other man, the one Aisha sedated. He's waking up. What do you want us to do with him? Jaehoon's gaze darkened. Aisha stepped between them metaphorically, if not physically. We do this right, she said. No torture. No impulsive executions. We have everything we need now, his confession, his plan, his connection to Lee. Use it. For what? Jaehoon asked. To clean your house, she said simply. To clear the disease from your blood and your syndicate. You always talk about rot from the inside. This is your chance to cut it out properly. Silence. Then he nodded slowly. Jean, he said. Gather the council. All of them. We're going to have a medical presentation. Jean smirked. Yes, doctor. If you're still here, feeling a strange mix of relief, satisfaction, and curiosity about how this world can possibly move forward after so much blood, good. Don't leave yet. Because this isn't just about surviving the night. It's about what they choose to do with the morning. The council meeting felt like a strange version of a hospital briefing. Aisha stood at the front of a luxurious, dimly lit room. Charts and data projected behind her. Except instead of doctors and nurses, the seats were filled with men and women in expensive suits, eyes sharp, expressions wary. And instead of discussing a random patient, she was explaining how someone had tried to kill their boss. With these altered doses, she said, pointing to the graph, his condition was made worse over time. The damage lines up with every shipment Dr. Lee approved. When we removed those influences and treated the disease correctly, his numbers improved dramatically. She clicked to the next slide. Messages. Transactions. Evidence of Dr. Lee's communication with the rival faction's leader. And as you can see, she continued, Dr. Lee wasn't just making mistakes. He was taking payments to ensure your boss died slowly enough to be replaced without suspicion. Murmurs rippled through the room. Eyes slid to where Dr. Lee sat, bound but upright, guarded on both sides. He still managed to look superior. You're relying on the word of a nurse, he scoffed. Over a trained physician. Over years of. Over evidence. Aisha cut in. Science doesn't care about your title, doctor. One of the council members, a sharp-eyed woman named Hyrin, leaned forward. Is this all accurate? She asked Jaehoon. Yes, he said. She saved my life by undoing what he did. And you trust her? With my life, he said simply. Aisha's heart flinched. Somehow after everything it was that sentence that scared her the most. Hyrin nodded slowly. Then the course is clear, she said. It was. The council, for all their ruthless history, had one clear rule. Internal betrayal was the one sin they did not forgive. Dr. Lee's fate was sealed. Aisha didn't watch the outcome. She didn't need to. She returned to the clinic instead, to clean stitches and adjust drips and watch the blood of a Mafia boss steady itself under her care. Days later, in the quiet aftermath, she sat in the garden behind her small mansion room, hands wrapped around a cup of tea. The city hummed beyond the walls. The sky was pale blue streaked with clouds. Her phone buzzed. Layla sent a picture. Her in a hospital gown, hooked up to trial equipment but smiling. Caption. Day 1. This is my I'm gonna live face. Aisha smiled, tears pricking her eyes. She started the program, she said softly. Jaehoon, sitting beside her on the bench, nodded. I told you, he said. When I make a promise to you, I keep it. You've made more than one, she said. He smirked. Have I? You promised not to bring your violence into my clinic, she said. You promised to listen to me about your treatment. You promised not to touch Layla. I kept those, he said. And you promised to stay alive, she added quietly. He looked at her, something unguarded in his gaze. I'm working on that one, he said. They sat in silence for a moment. You know this isn't over, she said. I know, he replied. There will be others. Men who wanted me dead, who are angry they failed. Men who see you as my weakness now. I'm not your weakness, she said. No, he said. You're the reason I'm still strong. Her heart thudded. That's worse, she muttered. He chuckled. We can go back, she said suddenly, to how it was. I can just be your nurse. You can be my stubborn patient. Nothing else. Do you want that? He asked. She opened her mouth, closed it. I should, she said. That's not what I asked, he said. She sighed. No, she admitted. Then we won't, he said. It's not that simple, she protested. Nothing in my life has ever been simple, he said. But a few things have been clear. You're one of them. She looked away, watching a leaf tremble in the breeze. I don't know if I can be with someone who lives like you do, she said. Who orders things I can't watch. I don't know if I can walk away from the world I built, he said. Not overnight. Silence again. Then he added, but I do know I can change how I run it. I've already started. Less blood. More strategy. More legitimacy. We can't erase everything. But we can redirect it. She snorted. Look at you talking like a politician. I'm serious, he said. You showed me what it feels like to have someone fight for your life without wanting anything in return. It makes everything else feel cheaper. She swallowed. Don't put me on a pedestal, she said. I took your money. You took what you were owed, he said. You saved me. You saved Layla. You saved my crew from a leader who would have sold them out eventually. If anything, I underpaid you. She laughed softly. I never wanted to be here, she said. In this house. In this world. In this thing with you. I know, he said. Neither did I. He turned to face her fully. Aish, he said quietly. I can't promise you safety. Not completely. Not as long as I'm who I am. But I can promise you this. I will spend whatever time this disease and this life give me trying to be someone you're not ashamed to love. Her breath caught. You think I love you? She asked, trying for sarcasm. He smiled. You're still here, aren't you? She opened her mouth to deny it, closed it again. Instead she said, You're very annoying. I know, he said. You tell me that more than you tell me anything else. You're stubborn. Yes. Reckless. Often. Dangerous. Always. She looked at him, really looked at him. The man whose life had crashed into hers in a hospital room under fluorescent lights and never left. You're also, she sighed. Mine now, I guess. The surprise on his face was quickly replaced by something softer. Good, he said. Because whether you like it or not, I've been yours since the moment you told me my own blood was lying to me. She laughed, a wet, shaky sound. Don't say things like that, she muttered. It makes it harder to keep my walls up. Then maybe, he said gently, you don't need them as high anymore. They sat there, the black dragon and the nurse, in a stolen pocket of peace between storms. The future was uncertain. There would be more enemies. More battles. More nights where life and death hung in the balance under harsh lights and beeping monitors. But there would also be mornings like this. Tea in a quiet garden. Messages from a recovering sister starting a new chapter. A man who once believed he was meant to die slowly now learning how to live differently. And a woman who had always carried everyone else's lives finally letting someone carry a piece of hers. She reached over almost without thinking and took his hand. It was warm. Steady. No tremor. Heartbeats good, she murmured. So is yours, he said. They sat like that for a long time. Not healed. Not safe. But together. If you made it all the way here, your heart is part of this story now. Would you have taken the deal Aisha took? Would you have risked everything to save a man like Jaehoon? And let him into your heart along the way? If this journey hit you, don't disappear. Stay with them. Tap subscribe. Share this with someone who loves dangerous love stories. And tell what you think lies ahead for Aisha and Jaehoon's future. Because their scars are still healing. And the next chapter of their story is waiting.